Welcome to Open Arms, an honest conversation about firearms. Hey everyone, I'm your host Brian Lockerman, and today in the studio I have attorney Lawrence Noble. Welcome to the show, Lawrence.
Thank you, Brian.
I had the opportunity to sit through one of your seminars the other day, and I tell you what, Lawrence, you gave me some really good information, and I love what you had to say. Now, what kind of attorney are you? What do you represent? What do you do?
Okay, I've been a lifelong trial lawyer. I give a lot of business and asset protection advice, and I give a lot of firearms and self-defense advice. I combine the two of those because they really meet the needs of firearm owners who need to make sure that their assets are protected.
There you go. Very good. Very nice. And I like the part that you were talking to everybody about awareness as well. That's a real important thing in my world, that's for sure. And can you talk
Well,
about
awareness, it's actually a phrase called situational awareness.
There you go.
Situational awareness, being aware of where you are, who you're around, what the circumstances are. There are 4 levels of it. Unfortunately, many people are in the bottom level, white level. They're completely oblivious to the surroundings.
Exactly. I know it.
Can't tell you the number of times I'm sitting at a red light or a stop sign, and people are walking through the crosswalk with their faces buried in a cell phone with earbuds on. They're not looking at me. They're not looking at anything. That is white. That is completely oblivious. What we try to do is we encourage people to be more aware, to eliminate the external distractions, sounds, looking at phones, looking around. Where are they? Are they in a car? Do they see the other cars? Do they see pedestrians walking, people about to walk off the pavement? And more importantly, when they're moving through life, are they aware of possible threats?
There you go.
In a store, in a parking lot, you really need to know who could do you harm. It's not really being paranoid. It's just knowing where you are so that if something bad is likely to happen, you're in a position to avoid it or, worst case, react to it.
Absolutely. And I'm a stickler for when I go to a restaurant. I always make sure when I go in there, I'm sitting in a position where I could see the restaurant and see the exits and the entrance to the restaurant. And I always just look around, casually look around. I don't stare people down, but I just want to know my surroundings, you know. That's one of the things I always do.
I do too. I always like to have my back to a wall and looking.
Yeah.
And you can look around and make sure you know who's in the restaurant.
Exactly.
Make sure everyone else seems to be having a good time. They're not focused on you. They don't look like they're about to have a bad moment.
Yeah,
It's just common sense self-protection.
Okay. Now, with that said, I get a lot of questions on when am I allowed to use force? When am I allowed to pull my firearm? Say I have a break into my home, someone's coming, and I think he's going to harm me or my family. When does that start that you're in the parameters of the law?
It's a question that everyone needs to think about. There's no real bright line answer, but there is kind of a little mental checklist that people can go through. So you're entitled to self-defense if you reasonably detect an oncoming threat, if you reasonably fear for your life or that you'll be very seriously hurt, and if you reasonably use a proportional amount of response.
Yeah.
So those are 3 tests. The word reasonable was in each one of them. And that's why when I speak to people, I want them to think about what would happen in a future bad scenario. What would be a reasonable response to the oncoming threat?
Exactly. I agree.
So it can't be an arbitrary thing. You can't have a hair trigger temper. You can't be immediately offended by everything you see. You have to be reasonable and make sure it makes sense. And there's a reason for that. There's a jury instruction in California that lays out those 3 elements. It's got to be reasonable, and that's what you, the defender, sees. But then if you ever make it in front of a jury, the jury has to agree with you.
Ah,
Say, I would have done the same thing.
I
So
see.
you don't want to react too quickly, but you have to be aware, situationally aware,
There
to
you
know
go.
that something bad is coming. Now, it's possible to break it down into all kinds of legal mumbo jumbo,
Uh-huh.
but most people know in the pit of their stomachs when
Yeah.
something bad is happening.
That's true. That's true,
Yeah,
Lawrence. I do agree with that. Now, do you represent people that go through stuff like this?
I do. I
Okay.
do. Yes. Uh, usually, hopefully, I give a lot of lectures and seminars, so I'm trying to educate people
Oh, absolutely.
as to what this reasonable test is. But I do get calls from people who have self-defense incidents
Mm.
and need immediate help. The key is to get to me as quickly as possible, or
Yeah.
somebody like me, before you have a talk with the police that could really send your life in a bad
Oh,
direction.
100% there. Yeah, I agree. Um, so what do you feel about like USSCA insurance?
I think it's good.
Okay.
I think it's good. The first thing about it is a form of insurance that requires membership in that group.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have membership, you've got some very, very good coverage. You've got an access to an attorney network like
Oh,
me.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
you got it.
Okay.
It's I'm my official title is immediate response or critical response team member.
Oh,
Critical
okay.
response team member. But as I tell people in my lectures, you really need to have coverage if you can get it,
Mm-hmm.
because if you are faced in a once in a lifetime threat to your life,
Yeah.
where everything is happening at warp speed,
That's
and you
yeah.
have to make this reasonable decision under huge stress, you don't want to be worried about being financially ruined.
Exactly.
So that's one
Exactly.
of the things. It's no different from car insurance or home
So
insurance. You want to know that's covered.
is it affordable then? Is what
Oh
you're
yeah,
saying? Okay.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
Very good. Very good.
yes.
So people could just go on the USSCA website and sign up for it, or
Yeah,
how's that work?
yeah. USCCA, yes,
USCCA.
they
Okay.
can. Yes,
Okay.
they can do that. Easy to
Okay.
get. Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. Good deal. Um, outside of that, now, when you do get a client and you are representing them, is it a very hard thing in the state of California, or is it just hard nationwide to really help them out?
It all depends on where you are,
Okay.
nationwide or in the state of California.
Okay.
There are some counties and cities which are friendlier to people who need to self-defend,
Yeah.
and there's some cities that are not so friendly. So the person who is in the jam doesn't necessarily get to pick where they're going
Exactly.
to be in the jam.
I know.
So it's important for them to understand what their legal rights are and obligations are in defending themselves. And then the next key, regardless of where they are, is to get to someone like me and make sure that they say the right things to the police.
Yeah.
It's not a pre rehearsed thing. You just have to know how to act like a victim.
Oh, I see. I got you. And that's what you do. You help them out with that.
Yes.
So they aren't saying the wrong things or whatever when they're in the court or something like that.
It's not that I'm not coaching people
Yeah.
what to say. But if you suffer once in a lifetime event where you have to fight for your life, it really turns you upside down. You get a huge adrenaline dump
Oh,
into your bloodstream. You're sweating like crazy. It's very, very, very distressing. You're really not in the best position to give a cogent, rational
I know it.
explanation
That's true.
upon that will depend what happens to your future.
Yeah.
So if you can call me, we tell you to cooperate. Tell the police you're going to cooperate after you talk to your lawyer.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Now, it's not just in your home, too. I mean, I've heard of cases where a Good Samaritan helped someone out in the street that was getting mugged, and he stepped in and, obviously pulled his firearm, and then he got into some hot water because of that. And that kind of really irritates me because all he was trying to do is help the victim, and he's the one getting in hot water for it. So what do you tell people about that? Like, what do you say?
That's a tough situation. First, you can help anybody if you see the same threat and can go through the same reasonable response steps in your mind for their benefit. It's no different from the decision you would make for yourself.
Yeah.
However, you're not a sworn peace officer, you're not a cop, and you're under no obligation to jump into one of those situations. So, technically, we all want to help people. On the other hand, the law tells us we can defend ourselves and defend our loved ones. If you're out with somebody, you
Yeah.
can defend them. And if you see somebody who's genuinely fits the standards, you can help them. But you always want to think
Gotcha.
twice about it.
Yeah. Perfect. You brought up something at your seminar I went to the other night about restraining orders, and a lot of people didn't know that. Now, if you get a restraining order on you, what do you have to do with your firearm?
If you get a restraining order, and most people see them as domestic harassment, civil harassment restraining orders, or there's another form called a domestic violence restraining order. If that's issued, and it can be issued when somebody just goes to the courthouse, fills out by hand a complaint against you, it goes to a judge who can sign it. One of the things that's automatic in that is a order to surrender your firearm. You have a firearm. It gives you 24 hours to surrender your firearm, and you haven't had a hearing yet.
Wow.
And in the civil harassment restraining order, the firearm surrender part is pre-printed in there. The judge doesn't even really get to make a decision about
Really?
whether that order comes down.
Okay. With that said, then I know you can surrender to a police station or whatever, or to an FFL holder. Am I correct?
Correct.
So then, therefore, wouldn't it be in their best interest to actually turn it over to an FFL holder as opposed to a police station?
Yes, they are both equal in terms of what the court requires. You've surrendered it to one of the two stated possessors of ordered firearms. Problem is with the police, some departments actually engrave the case citation number into the weapon.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm not aware of any gun broker or gun dealer or FFL who does that. So I always advise surrender to a gun dealer.
Exactly. Yeah. And that way, now is it easier to get your gun back at that point because of that way instead
I
of
think
being?
so.
Okay.
I think so,
Okay.
yes.
See, this is all good stuff to know. People don't know this. In fact, one of my guys never knew this, and he had a restraining order. I mean, he had guns. He never turned them in. He didn't even know, that was even something he had to do.
It's a criminal violation.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have that order and you don't turn in your guns.
I know. So those are things that people have to start learning. And have to really learn the laws where you are.
If you own a gun, which is a constitutionally guaranteed right under the Second Amendment,
Yes.
I think you also have a heightened obligation to know what the rules of gun ownership are.
That is correct.
And gun use. It really, owning a gun should be as natural and commonplace as owning a car, driving it,
Yes.
so on and
Yes.
so forth. But a lot of people get guns and they put it away.
I
They
know.
don't practice. They don't learn the rules.
I know it.
Really, gun ownership is not a place where you want to make a mistake.
No, Lawrence, that's why I put this show together, Open Arms. I want to show people the importance of safety.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, Okay, so with everything said, can people just hire you out just as an attorney? You don't have to be registered with any company or insurance company. They
No,
just hire you directly.
They can hire me directly.
And
Absolutely.
where can they find you?
I'll give you my phone number because that's the best place.
That's fine.
805
Okay.
658 6266. 805 658 6266. That way you're only a phone call away from me no matter where you are or where I am.
Very
We're
good.
immediately
very good.
connected.
Yeah, again, I think I've listened to a lot of attorneys, talk about, gun rights, stuff like that. But again, something about the way you spoke the other night was just actually really good. And I learned a lot. And I mean, I love what you had to say to the people, and it was great. It really was.
I appreciate that.
Now, are you a member of the VCGO?
I am.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, and in the Ventura County chapter,
Okay.
which is part of the California Rifle and Pistol Association.
Exactly. Great organization. It really is.
Well, it takes a leading role in a lot of the lawsuits that are filed against the restrictive gun laws that California is noted for.
Exactly. Yeah, I did see that. Oh, one question I had for you. On the news this morning, or something they were trying to push through legislation for gun regulation. Or did you see that today?
I didn't see that particular story.
Yeah, I saw it. I didn't get to research it yet because it's so new. I didn't know if you heard about that or not.
Well, this is somewhere in California. Correct?
Yeah. It was, the shooting where the Asian guy shot that place up down in wherever.
Yeah.
It was.
Oh, yeah, down in L.A. County.
Yeah, somewhere down. Anyways, they had some petition going around that all these representatives were signing, or some kind of gun regulation thing. I have no idea what it was. I didn't really catch what it was. I wanted to research it, but I was just thinking maybe you already saw that.
Well, there's a common theme that encompasses all of these gun regulations. And they're all designed to make gun ownership harder and more restrictive.
Oh, we know that.
And
yeah.
California, in many of its cities and at the state level, really doesn't care what the Supreme Court has said about the Second Amendment.
Right. Oh, I know that.
Or any of anything they do is designed. It's whenever there is a bad gun event, and let me tell you, I hate those.
So do I.
I don't know anyone who I hate them, and as a gun owner, I particularly hate them because I know the backlash that's coming.
Exactly.
But also, as a gun owner, when I see these bad events, usually many of them with people who have mental issues or problems.
That's what it is.
I had a lot of red flag signs that people ignored. That makes it even more compelling to have Second Amendment gun ownership right.
Yep.
So I don't know what that specific statute said, but I can guarantee you it probably doesn't pass the rules and the standards set down by the Supreme Court in its recent Bruin case.
Obviously. And I always tell people this, okay, I want you to show me the day that California passed a law about high-capacity magazines. That day that it went into effect, I want to see the crime go down like this. But it hasn't. It just went like this. Those laws don't work.
You won't find any evidence supporting those laws working. They really don't work. They're done to punish innocent, law-abiding gun owners.
Exactly.
It makes no sense.
Yep.
I haven't seen any real discussion in California about dealing with these mass shootings. It's just an automatic lockstep decision. And all of these state decisions seem to be in violation of gun owners' Second Amendment rights.
That is true. It is. You're right about that. Well, Lawrence, it's been a really great talk having you here. I'd like to have you come back, too. Because we're always getting questions all the time, different things. And, I think it'd be great to have you come back to make clarity on some of this stuff. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Again, one more time, where can people find you?
805-658-6266.
Awesome. Great guy, great attorney. If you need some help, call him. Seriously, this guy's amazing.
Thank
Lawrence,
you, Brian.
Thank you very much for being on the show. I look forward to more episodes with you.
So do I.
All right, guys, that's our show for today. And again, go to our YouTube channel, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell. And again, go to our Instagram, follow us. Until next time, always remember, safety, family, and the Second Amendment. See you later.